Brethren lads, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. These are the 6 things we learned from Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. We're going to be diving into the problems in that game, how Arsenal can solve them in the incoming fixtures, because we have Spurs and Manchester United plus Manchester City in the next 5 games. So they're going to be very, very big games. They're going to be very difficult opponents. How do we navigate through these games? Of course, hit the like button. Let's get this one to 500 likes. Subscribe to the podcast as well. If you're new and if you're old and you've not subscribed, do it. Just do it. Takes a second. Free. Do it. Do subscribe to the podcast, as well. Now, number 1, I think Arsenal will need to sign MUDRYK and JOAO FELIX at once. We need to sign both of them, not actually one of them. Now, I understand MUDRYK is the priority. He's the player that Mikel Arteta wants. And actually, the CEO at Shakhtar is going to be in London this week to discuss with Chelsea. And probably there will be a chance that he talks to Arsenal representatives as well in person. But in that game, I saw 1 or 2 things that I thought MUDRYK could solve. Number 1, we didn't take on players 1v1. I didn't see that happen. All we were doing was pass the ball around that back line, and when they pushed us back, we became a little bit frozen. I didn't see Saka and Martinelli take on players 1v1. Martinelli is a great lad at running players down, at running at them, running off their shoulders, creating all kinds of problems. He's a very, very great lad. Of course, Saka is the king in English football at 1v1 situations and running at players. But yesterday it was lacking, and I thought actually Saka would have a very, very good game because Dan Burn was playing out of position and Matt Target was injured. So I thought Saka was going to have the game of his life, playing against this tall guy who's out of position and all that. But actually the strategy from Newcastle was absolutely brilliant. They made 3 players mark Saka and 3 players on the other side to mark Gabriel Martinelli. That means there is no way you're going to beat them apart from going against them 1v1. So I thought we lacked that element of isolating fullbacks, isolating Newcastle fullbacks in wide areas, then beating them and taking some players out of the game. Yeah, there were a few passes from Odegaard and Xhaka that I thought really took some players out of the game. But when it came to our wingers, it was not actually calm enough. And that's where I thought MUDRYK would have been very, very useful in this game. He's more like Jack Grealish. You give him that ball, yes, their body's in there, but he's going to drive past them. He's going to take them on 1v1. He's going to make things happen as a player. And that is what we missed. We missed that individual brilliance. The Mane kind of guy. The Bernardo Silva kind of guy. Drive the ball into the penalty area. They drive the ball into those forward areas. Take some players out of the game and just create spaces for your the other players to run into. I didn't see that yesterday, especially from Gabriel Martinelli in the second. Now with Edin Ketia and JOAO FELIX, I think the comparison is unfair, but we're going to do it. The comparison between Edin Ketia and JOAO FELIX is unfair, but we are going to do it. The brilliance of a player like JOAO FELIX was needed in that game. I thought Nketiah's game overall was alright, like 50-50. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't really, really that good. But why you need a player like JOAO FELIX, not only because he can make things happen and change games by himself, but then also the fact that he's got that quality. He's got that ability that Edin Ketia doesn't have. I think, to be honest, Mikel Arteta doesn't want to play with an out-and-out number 9. But in this case, without Gabriel Jesus, we might need an out-and-out number 9, or else sign JOAO FELIX and MUDRYK. So for me, before we play Tottenham Hotspur, I would be happy if one of them has signed, or even both of them have signed. If they're bargain deals, you can bargain with Atletico Madrid to get JOAO FELIX at around 10 million euros or 15 million euros, and then you can also up your offer for MUDRYK and then get the deal over the line as well. So for me, lesson number 1. Go to the market and get MUDRYK and get JOAO FELIX. That will massively make us a better side. Lesson number 2, Youri Tielemans in midfield is absolutely needed. Not because Xhaka had a one bad game, but because you need the midfield options. The boys are actually starting to get tired. The boys, you could see that, yes, the communication is there. The combinations, the passing combinations and passing patterns are actually there, but you could easily see that something is missing. And for me, if Arsenal had a player like Yuri Tielemans, someone who could open up defenses, someone who could do what exactly Martin Odegaard was trying to do. Because look, football is football. Odegaard has had 2 very, very good games where everything he's been trying to pull off has been coming off. And then he suddenly goes into a drought. Just imagine if we had Yuri Tielemans in that team, maybe bring him on the 70th minute or 75th minute, it would be different. It would have been very, very different. We would have opened them up because Tielemans is a guy who loves to shoot outside the box. Tielemans is a player who really has that, clever eye, just like Xhaka, just like Odegaard. But you just need that variety. You just need a couple of options so that when this doesn't work, the other actually works. But then also, I think Yuri Tielemans would be a massive upgrade for us to do in January. I don't know what Leicester are thinking. Are they still adamant about selling? I'll try to find the more information about this as January progresses. But Yuri Tielemans is a player we can do, all right? It's a player we can actually, work with for now. And maybe an upgrade in midfield. It could be Serge Milinkovic-Savic. I don't have a problem. For now, in that game, Danilo doesn't solve the problem because Partey was excellent in terms of grabbing the ball back all the time, being in the right areas when we are not in possession. And that's why we were always in possession in that game. Because whenever Newcastle were trying to break, Partey could break their play and restart negotiations for us to get a goal, once again. So for me, Tielemans was lacking. You get a central midfielder who is happy to come forward, have a crack and release the Kraken, and maybe release a few decent passes, between the lines. Maybe Edin Ketia would have had something to run onto, especially in the second half. So my second lesson, if we can get Yuri Tielemans down through, down in that midfield, let's actually do that in January. Number 3, we didn't take our chances. I've already spoken about this on the channel, and I think you guys, if you've been watching this channel for some time, you will definitely back me. I've always told Arsenal players that the one thing you can do to help yourself is take your chances. We are a very nice side. We're a very, very decent side, very young side. We create a lot of chances. We score a lot of goals. We scored 40 goals in 17 appearances, okay? That means we are averaging 2 goals per 90. More than 2 goals, actually, per 90, all right? But the question is, in these games that matter, in these difficult games, when it is not Bournemouth, when it is not Swansea City, when it is not Cardiff, when it is not Norwich City, are you going to take your chances? Are you going to score those goals? You might have scored 5 against Nottingham Forest, but are you going to get that one crucial, important goal against Newcastle? And yesterday the answer was no. Now I'm pretty much sure Mikel Arteta is going to talk about this. He's going to talk to them. When you're playing such a high quality intensity game, you take your chances. You can't wait for Newcastle to capitulate. You can't wait for Newcastle to, score an goal, bring a penalty or that, because at times luck is not on your side. You need to be clinical. You need to be efficient. You need to be effective, and that efficacy is what we lacked yesterday. The effectiveness to put the ball in the back of the net in the final third is what we were lacking. And Mikel spoke about it, and he said we did everything, but we could have improved and done better in areas in and around the penalty area. That is the only thing that was lacking. We had 5 shots on target. None of them went into the back of the net to be ruled out for offside. None of them. So that shows you that we really need to take our chances. And yesterday, that is not something we actually did. Number 4 is that how we bounce back is now the real focus, because the games that are coming up are actually more important than the Newcastle game. We have Tottenham Hotspur, that is away from home at the White Hart Lane. We have Manchester United at the Emirates Stadium, and we will welcome Manchester City very early on in February. Okay, so those are the games that are coming up. 5 games, including Spurs, Man United, Everton, Manchester City, and I think Brentford. Right? Those are 5 games that are easy for us to lose. Look, we've done well for the first 3 games after the break. I think it's been a little bit shaky. It's been a little bit disappointing and all that, but it's all right. It's absolutely okay. We've really, really done well. Taking 7 points out of the available 9, it's okay. But I'm going to say this. How we bounce back is now the priority. That is what the team must focus on. That's what Mikel Arteta must focus on. How do I get the boys believing it again? How do I get the boys, to put in a super performance like they did put in against Tottenham Hotspur? Because if you remember last campaign, it was quite very similar. We lost to Spurs, we lost to Newcastle, and our charge for the top 4 race was actually over. If you fail to beat Newcastle at the Emirates, you go away against Spurs, and you fail to win. Man United come at the Emirates Stadium and probably fail to win. Those are 3 games where you've dropped 9 points or 6 to 9 points. It's over. The title race is over. You know, this title race is not ours to lose. This title race is ours to keep believing. It's Manchester City's. It is Manchester City's title, and we are keeping it for them, and we are keeping the position for them. But if we want to stay in that position, it's about these moments. These are going to be very key, definitive moments. How do we bounce back? When we lose a game, how do we come back? When we win, how do we react? Can we keep the momentum? The momentum now has been broken. The consistency that we were building has been broken. So can we start again from scratch? Can we be that team that is very, very deadly after losing a game, after dropping points? That's all we have to do. I think we can beat Spurs. We can beat Manchester United, but we will need to focus. We will need to have the best of our games. Like, Dejan Kulusevski is injured. Richarlison is injured. Those are very big, advantage. And I think Rodrigo Bentancur as well is not back yet. Those are very, very big advantages for us in the Tottenham game. So can we go there believing that we can actually do it? Because if you bounce back against Spurs and Manchester United, then no one cares about the Newcastle result. It is always like that in the league. When you drop points and come back and win 2 games in a row, 3 games in a row, no one thinks about the dropped points. Okay, so we need to bounce back, and that's going to be very, very crucial. Point number 5 is we were really affected by the World Cup. We were really, really affected by the World Cup. You look at you look at these players. Saliba, have you noticed the difference? Xhaka, have you noticed the difference? Benjamin White, have you noticed the difference? Many of these players are actually not hitting the levels they were hitting before the World Cup. And it's going to take some time for them to come around. It's going to take some time for them to, again, regain that momentum, regain that belief, regain the form they were in. But it has really affected us. And the best way to explain this is the absence of Gabriel Jesus. We're talking about it with my friends here that if Gabriel Jesus was in this game, maybe the result would have been different. Maybe. And I'm going to say this. Just maybe the result would have been different. But against that Newcastle side that played a 4-5-1 system, where Callum Wilson and Chris Wood were actually useless in the game, you needed a player who has the ability to run off shoulders, who has the ability to use a lot of his energy, a lot of his power to drag and send centre backs in their own half to push them down, to work them. Yesterday, that Newcastle defense was not worked. It wasn't worked. They didn't put in any work because Edin Nketiah didn't make them work. So Gabriel Jesus is one of the reasons why the World Cup has negatively affected Arsenal. Of course, you can talk about the momentum, you can talk about the consistency, you can talk about the rhythm. But losing a player like Gabriel Jesus early in the season like this, it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable. Whoever had a collision with him, we cannot forgive you. It's unforgivable. But then I've also seen a few players that I've actually not started. I've not actually come around. I hope they do. I really, really hope they do come around and regain that form, regain that momentum. Because if we can pick up the momentum before we head into the big games, that is City, Liverpool, Chelsea. That's going to be the better part of March. It will be much better. It will be much, much better. And lastly, Mikel Arteta's substitutions and the referee decisions were absolutely atrocious. Let's talk about Mikel Arteta's substitutions. I think anyone would have easily seen that you needed an attacking force. And the players that could give you an attacking force in that game included Fabio Vieira and Kieran Tierney. Those are the only 2 players I would have summoned from the bench to try to change that game. And he just didn't. He's stubborn, isn't he? He just did not. He did not even try to summon them. And I was seated on my chair thinking, why has he done this? Why has he done this? And then the referee, I don't know, guys. I don't know. These guys are continuing to have, very, very bad games against Arsenal. Very, very bad games. But what else can we do? So those are my 6 things we learned from Arsenal 0, Newcastle 0. I know we will bounce back, and it's going to be very, very crucial. Spurs are a side that really concede goals. Spurs are a side that don't score much goals for now. So can we take advantage, score 2 or 3 against them, and then keep a clean sheet? That will be the best way to bounce back in the North London derby. Winning again. Of course, this result will also this result means that if Manchester City don't win, the result has no effect. So let's all support Chelsea in the next game. I mean, I couldn't believe I'm saying that, but since we're putting on blue, maybe. I'll see you very, very soon. Hit the like button for me. Cheers.